Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back. It's good to see you. We are reading Clementine's Letter by Sara Pennypacker and pictures by Myla Frazee. All right, so this book is so exciting and I can't wait to keep reading to you because we are on chapter 6 and chapter 7 and we are anxiously waiting to see what's going to happen. Is Mr. DeMatt going to be their teacher for the rest of the year? Is Clementine, what does Clementine's letter say? You ready to find out? Okay, me too. All right, so sit back and just listen and relax. Chapter 6. Outside, I reminded Mitchell that I still needed to find a grocery store. But not a regular one, I said. I need some new vegetable names. He pointed down the street. How about that one, he said. I looked, and there was a grocery store, all right. Oh my gosh, Lee's Chinese Market, read the sign over the door. And out on the sidewalk were bins of vegetables. I ran down the street. I'd never seen some of these vegetables before. Bok choy, snow peas. I read the signs. Daikon, bamboo shoots. Here's Clementine running to the market. The Chinese vegetable names of chapter 6. Do you have a pen? I asked Mitchell. Before everyone caught up to me, I want to write down some names. Mitchell didn't have anything in his pockets except a baseball. I didn't bother asking Margaret because she never carries anything with her that might leak out all over her clothes. So we went inside. I was just about to ask the grocer for a pen when my amazing corner eyes spotted something and I ran over. And you will not believe what I saw. Eels in a tank. Eels and eels and eels. Eels and eels. So many eels. The eels were swimming around, making knots and loops in the water, tying themselves up and then untying themselves like magic. Wow, I said. Wow, said Mitchell. Wow, said Bok choy. I think I'm going to throw up, said Margaret. They're just fish, Margaret, I told her. They can't help it if they're extra long and slippery. But Margaret had turned kind of green. Quick, I told her. Run over there in the rice aisle. Just keep looking at all those bins of rice. Nice, clean rice. Margaret ran away, and I turned back to the eels. Sometimes, on hot summer days, I like to make water paintings on the sidewalk in our back alley. All right, let me show you these eels. Ooh, a tank full of eels. Have you ever made this before? Take a nice big paintbrush, dip it in water, and then paint swirly lines on the cement. The swirly lines evaporate almost as fast as you can make them. So they almost look like they're moving, just like these eels. Oh, I forgot to say, ask your mother first about using her paintbrush. I pointed to the littlest one hiding in the corner. Oh, look how sad that eel looks. Eels can't look sad, Mitchell said. They're just eels. He's crying, I said. It's just harder to tell underwater. Mitchell made a face, but I saw him corner-eye the tank to see if it was true. Special, $5.99 a pound, I read the sign. That's pretty good price for a pet, I said. This isn't a pet shop, Clementine, Mitchell said. This is a grocery store. These eels are for eating. Shh. I hissed at Mitchell for saying that in front of them. Mitchell shrugged. Well, it's true. People eat them or smoke them. Margaret must have been listening from the rice aisle because we heard her yell, Don't let Alan hear this. That pipe of his is disgusting enough. A very small secret part of me wanted to see someone smoking an eel, but not today. And not these eels. I went up to the counter. And I said, Excuse me, can I borrow a pen? The grocer gave me one. And I wrote down my brother's new vegetable names on my arm. Excuse me, I said again when I gave back the pen. Is your name Mr. Lee? Yes it is, he said. Oh, well, Lee is eel spelled backwards, I said. Isn't that great? If I had a store and I was selling some things that were my name spelled backward, I'd stop selling them. I had to stop for a minute to figure out what that would be. Yep, if I had a store with some Entomicalux, I'd give them away as pets. Mr. Lee just laughed as if I told him a funny joke. See, Margaret hissed in my ear. He thinks you're weird. You're always doing weird things, Clementine, Margaret said. I icicle-eyed Margaret. And I left, pushing Bamboo Shoot in a stroller. Margaret followed me. She pointed to the names on my arm. That's weird too, she said. I turned to Mitchell. Mitchell, do you think so? Do you think I do weird things? Of course, he said. That's why I let you hang around me, said Mitchell. Which he said because he was trying to be my boyfriend. But I didn't tell him I don't want a boyfriend because I don't want to crack his heart like in the movies. So instead, I asked him if he had any more ideas how I could earn $20 for my mom's present. He only came up with one. He could become a famous baseball player and get rich and give me that much. I told him, thank you, but that would take way too long, Mitchell. When I got back home, my mom was sitting at her drawing table, and I pulled her change, and the tube of permanent rose from my pocket. She held up her hands, which are covered with pastel dust. Oh, could you put it away for me, honey? I opened the cookie tin my mom uses for oil paints. All the tubes were jumbled up together. It looked beautiful to me, but it didn't look anything like the shelves at the art store. I suddenly realized something. The art store person had put all the paints in order according to a rule. Not a dumb rule like one of Margaret's rules, but a good one. Want me to arrange these in color wheel order? I asked my mom. Oh, that would be so nice, honey, my mom said. So I laid out all the tubes of paint in a rainbow circle, just like they had been in the art store. And when I was finished, Mom leaned over and took a look. That is so wonderful. And now I won't waste time looking for a certain color. Could you do this for my watercolors and my colored pencils too, Clementine? Really? I asked my mom. I can touch all of your stuff? And this is Clementine helping organize all her mom's art things. Aw, she's being so helpful. Sure. Even the special markers, Mom? My mom looked at me for a minute. I could see her thinking about the time I'd colored Margaret's head with them. Sure, I know you know the rules about my art supplies now. So, anytime you feel like straightening up my things, you can go ahead. So I put all her stuff in color wheel order, and I secret smiled the whole time, thinking about how happy she was going to be when I gave her that deluxe art supplies organizer box. After that, I went into my parents' room to see how my dad was coming along with the book. He saw a lot of interesting things. He had written, also, he had a gorgeous wife and 2 remarkable children. I flipped the pad to see if he'd written any more about the interesting things on the next page. Nope. So it was up to me. One day, the building manager saw something extra interesting, I wrote. Then I went to put the stroller back into the storage room. On the way, I passed the trash and recycling room, and in there, I saw something that really was extra interesting. The solution to my deluxe art supplies organizer. The $20 problem. What did she see? The answer to her $20 problem. Chapter 7. There's Clementine. Or is that her mom? It's Clementine. See her hair? It's Clementine. Chapter 7. Clementine, that's the 3rd time I found you staring at the clock today, Mrs. Nagel said. Are you waiting for some... Clementine, that's the 3rd time I found you staring at the clock today. I'm going to start chapter 7 again. Okay, ready? Chapter 7. Clementine, that's the 3rd time I found you staring at the clock today, Mrs. Nagel said Wednesday morning. Are you waiting for something to happen? I felt my ears begin to burn. Mrs. Nagel kept looking at me, so even though I did not want to say what I was doing, I did. I'm just playing Beat the Clock, I said. How do you play? Said Joe. Well, I look at the clock, and then I look away, and I count the seconds, and then look back to see how close I was. I'm getting really good at it. If I ever go on a game show where you have to guess how many seconds have gone by, I'm going to win. And I won't pick the dumb prizes, let me tell you. All right, said Mrs. Nagel. I think that's enough of that. But it wasn't enough. Everyone started to play Beat the Clock. Kids shouted, just 2 seconds off. 18 seconds. I guessed it exactly. You did not. I saw you peek at your watch. Until finally, Miss Nagel taped a piece of construction paper over the clock, so we couldn't play anymore. The back of her head sent me a look that said, your teacher's going to hear about this. I didn't send her a look back, but if I had, it would have been, Good, because my teacher understands about beat the clock. He understands about how counting with one part of my mind helps me pay attention to him with the other part of my mind. We have a little arrangement about that. And besides, if my teacher wanted to tell me to stop looking at the clock, he wouldn't have done it in front of the whole class. He would have held up his fingers to make a capital P for in private, and then I would have gone up to his desk and he would have talked to me there. And I miss my teacher a lot right now. I miss him so much. So it's a good thing he won't be gone much longer. Which was too much to fit in a single look anyway. It's too hard to fit all that in a look. The rest of the morning got worse. By the time the recess bell rang, I bet I heard 100 Clementines, pay attention. And every time I was paying attention. But okay, fine, not to Mrs. Nagel, because she had gone from boring to extra boring. Oh my gosh. Instead, I was paying attention to the astounding idea that had jumped into my head when I passed the trash and recycling area last night, which was the opposite of boring, believe me. $20 coming soon, I wrote on my math paper. After 100 hours, school was over. The bus ride took 300 hours more. All everybody wanted to talk about was how nice Mrs. Nagel was, which showed that she had hypnotized everyone except me. Finally, I was home. My mom was just about to leave with Beansprout to go to story hour at the library. She handed me a cup of yogurt and an apple. The apple reminded me about Monday's science experiment, which made me feel a little bit bad, so I stuffed it into my pocket. My mom leaned over to get a closer look at the back of my neck. "Oh, for heaven's sake," she said. And then she looked at my arms. "I'm going to have a talk with Margaret's mother." "They're not all pinch marks," I said. "Some of them are poke marks. The neck ones come from Lily, my right side comes from Norris, Boris, Norris, and my left arm—" "A child is not a pincushion. Don't they teach you that in school?" my mom said. "It's okay. I sit in front of Joe and Maria now. Joe's too short to reach over his desk, and Maria is a weak little pickle." And then I thought of something. Wait, now that I think about it, Maria has extra hard fingers, pointy too. And what if Joe uses his pencil? He might get me in the lungs or something. I guess I better not go to school for a while, Mom, like until Monday. Don't be silly. I'll just write a note. What did you say your substitute's name is? No, Mom, don't. Why not? You'll just make it worse, Mom. Make what worse? So I had to tell her about all the trouble I was having with this Mrs. Nagel, and about Margaret's idea about doing what Lily did, which didn't work, and having to move. My mom just sat down beside me, and she said, "Well, I don't think that was very good advice anyway." She said, "It's never really a good idea to do something just because somebody else is doing it." "Why do you think you're having so much trouble?" my mom asked me. Well, I peeled the lid off my yogurt and I licked the lid. She doesn't like me, Mom. "Oh, that can't be true," my mom said, which she had to say because she's my mother. "There must be another reason. If you could figure it out, maybe you could fix things, Clementine." Here's a picture of Clementine and her mom talking. My mom grabbed Water Chestnut as he ran by and tried to put on his jacket. I watched for a while, but she wasn't getting anywhere. "He's playing spaghetti boy, Mom." "Be tree boy," I told him. "Make bench arms." My mother got fooled by this, and my mom got his jacket on. She zipped him up. "Thanks, Clementine. See what I mean? Sometimes you have to figure out the problem before you can figure out the solution." That sounded like a good thing to remember, so I wrote it on my arm. My mom picked up my brother and carried him to the door because he was still being a tree. "Your father's out back. The Masons are here. They're starting the new brick garden wall. Do you want to go watch them, Clementine?" I dropped my spoon. I've been waiting all month for this because I love bricks. I love how pretty the white mortar looks next to the red clay. And I love how each brick is set exactly halfway over the one beneath. So each new row ends with a full brick or a half a brick. I love how even it is all the way to the top of the wall, even if the wall is 100 stories high. I love bricks so much that my family made me a gingerbread house last Christmas, and I made the sides of it with dentine gum for bricks and used frosting for the mortar. It cost me 2 weeks of allowance for all that gum, but it was so worth it. I thought about how much I wanted to watch The Masons, and then I thought of my mom's present. No thanks, Mom, I said. I have something to do this afternoon. Before I got going with my idea, I went to my dad's night table to see how he was coming along with his book. Not so good. One day the building manager saw something extra interesting he had written, so he showed it to his daughter. I picked up the pen and wrote, "This was because sometimes the building manager needed her help to stay on track." Then I went down to the trash and recycling room. Sometimes my parents watch a TV show about junk. People get together in a big room with their junk. The host, who is a junk expert, goes around to each of them and tells them how much their junk is worth. because now it's not worth anything. Sometimes he says, "Oh, too bad. You fix this because now it's not worth anything." Oh my goodness. And then the people act like they don't care. And they say, "I still love my thing and that's what counts." This is because they are embarrassed about making a big mistake for fixing it. But sometimes the host says, "Holy mackerel, this is amazing. This is an extremely valuable piece of junk and now you are rich." And then the people clap their hands to their cheeks and make big mouth sounds if they're too stunned to speak. Oh, you too might have treasures in your attic or your basement. And that's the end of the show. When I'm a grown up, I will not watch the junk show because it is boring. Boring. So boring. But it did give me an astounding-ish idea. In between the garbage barrels and the recycling crates, there were a bunch of bags, and the bags were filled with junk. A pipe, a yellow knitted tie, 4 placemats with look like little braided rugs. There was a china figurine of a rooster with a straw hat, and there were some other junky things too. So that TV host was right. I too had treasures in my basement. Above the bags there was a sign, "Charity collection. Donate your unwanted items for a good cause." Giving my mom a present was a good cause. All right, I dragged the bags and the card table up to the lobby and I taped the sign to the table, "Price, whatever you think it's worth." She's dragging all the junk up. What do you think? Do you think she's going to get some money? Well, we're going to have to find out when we come back to Chapter 8 later, because there's Chapter 8. How many are left? Let me see. Chapter 8, 9, 10, 11. 4 chapters left. So those were our chapters for today. I hope you enjoyed Clementine, and I can't wait to see what happens. Will she get the $20? Will she be able to buy it for her mom? I hope so. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow for our next book. Bye.